Alright, welcome back to Deathwing. We finished the tutorial. It suggested Disciple, but as I've mentioned, I think that's going based off my time, which, yeah, 15 minutes to complete that the tutorial was a little long, but I was digging into it. We're just gonna go with the normal difficulty, which I guess is Chapter Champion. Oh, okay. Alright, so, I was not sure what faction we were, and again, as I've mentioned before, I'm kind of by all accounts, a relatively casual enjoyer of 40k. I'm a casual fan. At least big time 40k fans would say I'm pretty casual. I have a lot of knowledge of it, or a reasonable amount of knowledge, but that doesn't mean I am a big time fan. Anyway, so I wasn't sure. I think the so I think Deathwing refers to the chapter, which I'm gonna assume is a Dark Angel successor chapter, because Lion's Sword refers to Lionel Johnson, the Primarch of the Dark Angels. I think I have that right. I'm gonna feel dumb if I don't. Please don't embarrass me in the comments, or be nice. So we're going with normal, new campaign. Wow, do you really not have multiple save slots? Ew. All right, well, you are now entering a Power XL ship. That is not an area of knowledge I know, so I don't know what a Power XL ship means. Recovering.
This is Grand Master Belial, addressing all warriors of the First Company.
Okay.
Forged from countless ships in the seething forces of warp space, a space hulk has been deposited here by the uncaring tides of the Immaterium.
Mm-hmm.
I have dubbed
Immaterium just means the warp, or
Olethros. A hive swarm of Tyranids already besets the system. So while the honored warriors of the Deathwing embark upon the purging of this space hulk, our brothers shall assist the Astra Militarum and Imperial Navy in destroying this tendril of the Great Devourer. Command of the assault belongs to an epistolary of the Librarian, a deadly battle psyker of the chapter.
Okay.
Leading a specially assembled squad, the Librarian will investigate abnormal auger returns and psychic emanations from within the space hulk.
am I the Librarian? Is that the conceit?
The ether gifts me vision.
Yeah, okay. So we're playing as a Librarian.
A scream and a dark promise. A ship in the shadow, a relic from our secret past. I feel the tightness in my gut as I see a cataclysm as yet unseen. The Obra Mortalis descends upon us. The shadow of death.
Okay. There's a lot to unpack there.
The first scans of the space hulk have revealed a Dark Angel ship that dates back to the Age of Heresy. It is located in the heart of the Olethros space hulk. This ship from our ancestors seems to be protected by a mysterious energy field. Teleportation to the ship is currently impossible. The only way to reach it is through the main mass of the space hulk. Reaching this ship is your primary concern. Trust your battle brothers to deal with the rest of the Olethros. Brothers, retribution is at hand. It is our strength. We are the sons of Caliban. Let fury guide your weapons. Let vengeance be your song. We are the angels of death, and our enemies shall fall.
Okay. I mean, that's got a lot of flavor if you have no familiarity with 40k. If you do, there's a little bit more going on. So, boy, how do we talk about the lore without digging too far into it? Okay, so we've talked about Space Hulks a bit before, but I'll reiterate. So Space Hulks are basically these amalgamations of, oh God, how far back do I go? I know I've talked about this all before. Some of you may, I don't even remember what video it was in. It could have been years ago. So I should probably reiterate some of this. So in the 40K universe, there is a parallel-ish reality referred to as the warp.
Brother Librarian, the
Okay,
initial
hold
boarding
on.
strike is proceeding, but we have lost contact with Squad Gideon. Your sensorium should receive Gideon's beacon signal, though it will be weak. We need Squad Gideon to secure the breaching zone. Locate them as quickly as possible. When you are successful, proceed to secure the landing area to establish the full bridgehead. Praise the Lion.
Okay. How do we unpack all the lore knowledge necessarily here as fast as possible? Okay. The Imperium of Man is a grand is a grand empire stretching across galaxies that is ruled by Earth, basically, and the Emperor, who is dead, but also not dead. The Emperor had some number of sons. We're not going to get into how many there were because it's debated. And each of them is referred to as a Primarch. Each of the Primarchs had their own basically army and served the Emperor in his grand attempt to reunite all of the remnants of humanity spread across the universe until there was a whole betrayal and factions happened and so on and so forth. That comes in part from the forces of chaos. The forces of chaos are too complicated to get into, but come in no small part from this sort of parallel plane referred to as the warp, or sometimes by the Imperium they call it the Immaterium. It's also referred to as, well, part of it is referred to as the Webway. That's a separate thing. Humanity, in order to do faster than light travel, humanity essentially warps in and out of the Immaterium, in and out of the warp. However, the warp is incredibly dangerous, and going in there is basically death. It is both a physical and non-physical realm, and the beings, both literal and metaphorical, that exist there. Okay, I'm getting off on a tangent again. The problem is everybody travels through the warp, and you have to have protection from the warp through what's called a Geller field, but also other technologies, other races, other things are in there, either traveling through there or living there. This means that in the 40,000 years, well, not all of which was humanity, but in the history of the 40K universe, there's a lot of trash and things that end up there accidentally, and so you get these things called Space Hulks, which are basically the equivalent of the Great Pacific Plastic Patch. It's just a smashed up pile of trash, but it's mostly ships. And in this case, we've got a Space Hulk that is in part has one of the ships in there. They're saying from the thing we just saw is a ship formerly of our chapter, or our parent chapter that was originally from the Primarch Lionel Johnson, one of the Emperor's sons. That's the whole context. Clearly, they're suggesting that there is probably some technology or something that we are interested in retrieving from this, and it is critical for various reasons, because everything's critical in the Imperium. Other things that are also relevant from what they just said. The Imperial Navy and the Astra Militarum, those are wings of the basically quote unquote normal human military. We are space marines who are genetically enhanced human beings who are bigger, stronger, faster, have a bunch of extra organs. It's a whole other thing. If you're really interested in hearing more about that, I can dig more into like any of those topics some other time. There's also a lot of resources online that give much more in-depth discussions and probably more accurate. And I can point out a few of those that I really like as well if you're just interested in those things in general. There's a lot of also really bad commentators on 40K stuff, so gotta pick and choose. Anyway, one last thing. We are playing as a librarian who is basically a very special space marine. For the most part, oh god, I gotta explain psychers. Generally, there's this whole trope in the Imperium of everything is heresy. I'm sure if you have any familiarity at all with 40K in the most tiniest passing, you've heard people yelling heresy because it's a joke, apparently. But the joke is that everything's heresy because the Imperium is a big heretical joke of itself. It's a big satire in the first place, but people seem to forget that. So psychers are humans that are attuned to the warp that we talked about earlier. They're basically magicians, except the way they get their power and knowledge is through a genetic-ish capacity to access the warp. This is generally considered heretical by the Imperium, and they kill psychers because they are extremely dangerous. Because if you can just reach into the most dangerous space and pull stuff out of it, it means you can just, oops, I summoned a bunch of demons. So it's extremely heavily controlled by the Imperium. Most humans, including space marines, do not have psychic abilities, are not psychers. However, within chapters, there are generally a few what's referred to as librarians. These both act as sort of chroniclers and have a whole other bunch of duties within the chapters, but they also are psychically attuned. They are basically sanctioned psychers within Space Marine chapters. They are full Space Marines themselves as well. So we are playing as a librarian, which would make us very important even just within our chapter, and gives us access to extra abilities that other members would not have. So that's why we have like that force electricity that we had before, and I was questioning it. All right. So we don't have a lot to work with. Oh, I can switch to the Power Fist. Interesting. Huh. Alright. This has slightly less recoil. This interface leaves something to be desired. Oh, and I can modify the other brothers as well. Okay, let's just go with the sword. We'll stick with basically the standard loadouts to begin with and see how this goes. Alright, so he's equipped with like a minigun type assault cannon thing and a power fist. Oh, we could make him melee and just give him lightning claws. This is... Okay, so it switches both of them to lightning claws if I switch to that, but... Okay. That's fine. And then... Alright, so not a lot to work with. That's fine. So this is our apothecary. And this is our, like, normal heavy guy. Okay. Okay. Anything else I can change about myself? There's some weird audio switching. Every time I switch this, it like... There... Oh no. Okay, you know what it is? There's a 3D source... There's a source of that audio. It's playing off of a certain location in the 3D space in which these characters are standing, but when it swaps the camera, it's very jarring for me with my headphones on, because the spatial audio is it's moving around as the camera moves. Ugh. All right. Huh. I think this said before that it would just send me back to the main menu, which is probably not great. What other... I don't have access to these. Did it even make me use the shockwave when we were in the mission? I don't think it did. It's interesting that it just gives me visual, or lets me see those before I have access to them. Okay. Let me take a quick breather, get some water, and we'll get started on our mission.